Hey guys, Zach Drasquick here. Man, I've had a lot of success out there on the water lately. I've caught a ton of fish, recently having 100 fish a day out there. In today's video, I'm going to show you the lures that I used and the areas that I fished and talk you through the decision-making process that led me to have such success out there on the water. Now, in the time that I made this video, we had recently had a lot of rain come through. We had the hurricane, a lot of flood waters coming down through the Tennessee River. They're pulling over 100,000 of current, which is a ridiculous amount of water. So in this kind of extreme conditions, even though I know Lake Guntersville pretty well, with these extreme conditions, the fish can move and the bite can change drastically. So what I like to do is, in these kinds of conditions, when I've been off the water a long time, if I'm fishing a new lake, what I do is I pick a shorter pocket, because what that'll do is kind of give me an idea of where the fish are positioned. If I pick a major creek like North Saudi, it can take me a long time to figure out whether fish are more in front or at the mouth or way in the back. That can take hours and hours to figure out. So what I did is I pulled up to a short pocket first to check out the bite and see what the fish were doing. Right away, as I was idling in, I saw some fish on a hump near the mouth of this little pocket, and I was having some trouble getting them to bite. I caught some on a jerkbait, this little mega bass fishing 110 silent, but I wasn't getting the kind of bite that I was looking for. I got a few pretty quickly. Ended up breaking off because one of my eyelets was cracked. I didn't realize it, and it was shredding my line up, but was still able to put some fish in the boat. What I realized is they were the fish that were there were near the mouth. As I went back into the pocket further, I saw no fish activity and I got no further bites. So in front of it and at the mouth was where I got my bites. With all that current coming through, the fish were not sitting in the current, but they're sitting just off the edge. They're actually a lot closer to that high water flow than I thought they would be, and there's some sitting just almost right in it. So I thought I needed to be on the down current side of the hump, but really they're more on the side of it. Now, although I didn't figure out the exact bait yet, I caught some on the jerkbait, but it proved to be not quite the right bait. I knew that I did not need to go way into the back of the creek. I needed to stick to the front half, just out of the main river current. So as I came to my next spot, I got just inside the mouth of the creek, where it was outside of the current, but we still had some water flow from some wind coming at me. I pulled up on an irregularity in a flat, where a flat kind of made a point, and then there was a little horseshoe nearby where it made kind of a pocket. And I had those wider contour lines I was talking about, where it's flatter, harder bottom area with some scattered grass. And immediately, as soon as I put my trolling motor down, I started catching some fish. Now, I was not throwing the jerkbait. When I pulled up, right away, my boat wake scattered some bait fish, I guess, and they started busting around me, so I broke out the Topwater. And man, they're tearing up this JT95, this chrome color in particular. I tried messing around to see what was the best, but this chrome JT95 proved to be the best bait. Now, I did catch some bigger fish on the Vixen, but this was my number one bait. I caught 4 or 5 in a row on this little JT95. The shad that they're chasing were very small, and the fish were not real big. So this JT95 ended up being perfect for them. But eventually they stopped eating this very good after I'd caught a number on it, and the wind started dying down just a little bit. So since they weren't committing all the way up top, I broke out a lure I talked about in my unique topwaters you need to try video. I'll leave a link up above. But this is the Demiki Slim Jack. This is the next one I threw after they stopped committing all the way up top. This is just a barely subsurface jerkbait. I keep it in my topwater box because that's what I more classify it as. And man, I caught so many. I again was catching multiple 2s, 3s. I think I caught 4 or 5 in a row on this one as well, just in back-to-back casts. But this Demiki Slim Jack, you know, just it has good action and is, you know, it stays up in the water column very well. But sometimes when the fish don't want to commit all the way up top, this is a great lure to try. But eventually, even this, they grew shy of, and as that bite died down, I knew I needed to make another adjustment. Although I knew there's plenty of fish in the area, I didn't change areas. I just picked up a different lure. That's when I broke out my A rig. Now, Alabama rig is great this time of the year, and it can lead some great catches. I had one I think triple on this day, although I've got as much as 4 in a row, or 4 on a single rig here recently. But man, this thing is great. Since the fish were smaller and the bait fish were smaller, I downsized my baits. I had 3 of these little 3-inch easy shiners on here, and just some 2.8 Kitex. And this is great in the early fall when they're keyed in on the tiny bait fish. And this particular A-rig is my favorite. This is the Picasso Bait Ball Pulse Junior. As you can see, as I'm dangling it here, it's got the right amount of flex to it. With your Alabama rig, if you have some wires that are too stiff or too thick, they'll be more durable and be able to, you know, handle maybe more fish. But the problem you get with that is you get less action. I like to twitch my A-rig. Sometimes that little twitch will kind of compress the rig and flare out, just like the bait fish do as they're being chased naturally. And that can really trigger fish. So having an A-rig with some arms that flex like this one can really make the difference between a really good day and a bad day. I really didn't have much confidence in a lot of years in the Alabama rig until I picked up this one, and my my catch rate went way up. I didn't realize that, you know, all rigs aren't created equal. Just because they all look the same, you have to, if you haven't had success with an Alabama rig, try getting this Bait Ball Pulse, just the junior version, and you'll put a lot more fish in the boat with a Alabama rig that's got a little bit more flexible arms. One thing I do need to mention though is I like to keep a spare Alabama rig in the boat with me, because sometimes you'll break an arm off and it won't run right after that. So keep an extra Alabama rig in case you break an arm off on after a number of fish catches, so you can retie real quick and keep some fish coming in your boat. And I do like to keep the snaps on here because it allows you to adjust the weight. Like when I'm fishing shallow, I'll have all 1/8 or even down to 1/16 ounce heads on my Alabama rig, and having those snaps allows me to change quickly. I know some people, you know, you can go and just have a split ring and you have less points of failure here, but I'm babying my fish after I hook them with the Alabama rig. I'm trying to bring them in slow, one, so I don't straighten out a snap, but 2, if you're reeling your fish in slow, it gives you more opportunity for another fish to come in and grab one of your other baits. So that's a little tip for you if you want to catch multiple fish. Don't go and try to horse them in right away. But I caught, I think I only caught like 5 or 6 fish on this Alabama rig before the wind just completely died and the water went slick calm, and the fish stopped hitting the rig for me. But I knew they were still there. I could see some fish swirling. It was too shallow and too grassy for live scope, but I knew that there was still a number of fish in the area from the amount of activity I'd seen earlier and was still periodically seeing. So that's when I picked up just a plain swim bait. I picked up, I was getting bites on the 3-inch easy shiner, so that's what I put on a 1/8 ounce hook. And this bait is is pretty tiny. This is the smallest I would consider maybe bass size lure. But this 3-inch easy shiner, it's a little bit downsized from the 2.8 swing impact fat. Very finesse swim bait. It's got a little bit tighter kick to it. And this on a little 1/8 ounce head, I put on my BFS rod, 6-pound test, and I just went to town. I was getting bites almost every single cast and catching fish almost every cast for a long time. I think I had got up to 9 fish in a row at one point on this thing, and back-to-back casts. Yeah, they weren't giant, but man, it was so much fun throwing this thing. So if you don't have any of these 3-inch Kitex, give them a try, because these are great in the wintertime on the white bass too. This is a great little finesse swim bait. If you want to have fun, some BFS gear, put it on a spinning rod, and you can catch a lot of fish on these little guys. Now, one other thing why I think that spot I was fishing had so many fish piled up in it was one that current had kind of pushed them off the main river into the creeks, but the water was not quite, we haven't progressed enough into fall yet for them to want to push them all the way back up in the pockets. We hadn't had enough time for that in this section of the lake at least. So that water flow pushed the bait, pushed the fish just inside the creek. This is the first good area that they came to. It had hard bottom, some scattered grass, but also it had a lot of boat traffic. And you know, some people get discouraged, and I'm one of those sometimes too. You know, you don't really like people running over the stuff that you're casting over. But let me tell you, even when I was still throwing my Topwater, I had people run by and I was catching fish out of their prop wash. That activity is creating some water flow. It's breaking up the bait balls, and it's creating feeding opportunity for the fish. So fishing high traffic areas, although it can be slightly frustrating at times, it can be a little bit discouraging. People driving over it is not necessarily a bad thing, you know, unless they're running over your line. You know, you can catch a lot of fish in these high traffic areas that are stirring up the bait, breaking up the bait, and the wave action is oxygenating the water a little bit better. You know, I don't mind fishing areas that people are running over a lot. You know, in those kind of areas, a lot of people are driving over it, they're driving through it and not stopping on it. So you're fishing an area that's not necessarily pressured as much in that kind of situation. All right, so key takeaways for today. If you've had extreme conditions, or if you're on a new lake, checking a short pocket is a quick way to find out what the fish are doing, where you need to target a bigger creek. Don't be afraid to fish high traffic areas, and try to adjust your lure choice when you're on a big school of fish. Rotating your baits and adapting to the conditions can help you maximize your catches out of the school. You know, initially I was catching them on a Topwater and slowly progressed down to just a little swim bait. And rotating your baits like that, if you're starting to notice decreased activity on your bait, changing your baits can help you keep that school fired up and help you really milk it for all it's worth. All right, I hope you enjoyed today's video and you can take something away from it to hopefully help you have a 100 bass day out there on the water. Use these lures, fish these areas, and I guarantee you'll load the boat.